I made it. For these, see you. Nope, I made it. Thank you so much. You're fine.
Hey,
Hey, how are you?
good. How are you?
Good. Just trying to make sure my lighting's okay. You can hear me?
You're fine.
Awesome.
Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thank you for asking me.
I know it's
Oh,
probably
let's get
most
my hair.
random things to get, and you don't know who I am.
There
So,
we go.
right on. So you're in Oklahoma,
I am in Oklahoma. That is correct.
and you're from New York.
I'm from New York originally. Syracuse is the
Oh,
best way to explain it.
okay. Hold on a second, please. My wife's calling me. Sorry.
That's okay.
What, honey? Yeah. Love you. Love you, Bert. Ugh. Goodness. Whew. Sorry.
That's all
Uh,
right.
my granddaughter's coming over. So I was just alerted of that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, how old is she?
She just turned 1. She just had her big old party and
Aw.
a little stinker. She was pretty much a celebrity. She was sitting in like her high chair. My daughter like whipped up a crown, like she sewed her one real quick, and then she
Nice.
had a big cake. And every parent, 'cause there had to have been like 20 kids, which I didn't realize, and all the parents were like clicking, and my
Yeah.
granddaughter's like, she's so obnoxious. I was like, wow, okay. I see
All right.
where's this gonna go? So she kept smashing her face and her cake, and then
They do
like
that.
ridiculous. Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, Syracuse, and then how'd you get to Oklahoma?
Oh, the long way. Uh,
Yeah.
trying to do something with my hair here.
No worries.
Do that. Um, so I was born in Syracuse. Part of my backstory, I was actually born in a home for unwed mothers, and
Huh.
well, it was 1965, and my mom had no legal rights,
Right.
and and that's a whole other, thing I've learned. They did change their minds. My parents got married and fought the state to get me back, which they did. But we wound up moving. I've lived, oh my gosh, 20 different cities, I think, my entire life.
Hmm.
Several different states: Michigan, Ohio, Florida, Georgia, just a whole bunch.
Wow.
And I wound up spending most of my childhood in Michigan. That's where I went to high school and junior high. That's where I went to college. And I got a job in Chicago,
Nice.
which, yes, and
I
I
love
loved it.
Chicago.
Oh, it's a beautiful city.
I
And
lived there for almost 20 years, so
20 years
I'm
in what
like,
part?
yeah. I lived in Rogers Park. I was homeless, stayed in Belmont. I lived downtown in the South Loop area.
Okay.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, we lived, well, I lived in Hoffman Estates when I
okay.
first got my job.
Mhm.
And then I met this really cute guitar player uh,
Nice.
at work.
Oh
And
wow. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, he worked in customer service and I ran the data room. So it was my job to fix computers. And his computer broke. And so I go bebopping up to his floor. And I don't know what possessed him, but he asked me out. And I turned him down. So this guy, God bless him, asked me out 3 times.
Oh
And
wow.
I finally said, I don't normally date people I work with. And
Right.
his answer was, "That's okay. I'm not normal." And he did not lie. No, right?
Yeah.
And then he came up and said, "So my band is playing on Saturday night. You should come see us." And I'm like, "Wait, what? You're in a band?" And he's like, "Yeah, I play
Yeah.
guitar." So
That's
35 years
dope.
and counting.
Oh.
And so we
Wow.
joke, yeah, we joke about that. It's like, why did you not open with guitar? And he's like, well, I should have, you know.
Yeah. Huh.
But yeah, 35 years. Will be 36 this year.
When was that? Like in the 90s?
That would have been the 80s. So
Wow. Yeah,
I
yeah,
moved
yeah.
to
Sorry.
Chicago. Yeah. So I'm old,
Wow.
but I met him in 1988.
Oh, cool. That was a good year.
And yeah, December 3rd was our first date, 1988. And we got married in
Wow.
August of 1990. And then he got transferred to Oklahoma. That's how we wound up here.
Oh, okay.
And so I live where things can eat me at this point,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's gorgeous. I love it. We're really
Right.
close to the Arkansas border.
Oh,
Um,
right. Yeah.
yeah. And because we live in far northeast Oklahoma, probably about an hour east of Tulsa,
Okay.
and we love it.
Nice.
And you're in Alaska. What part?
Juno.
Juneau. Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard that's really nice. How'd you wind up there?
So, hmm. So I grew up in a smaller town south of here. I moved there. I was born in California. Then my mom, she was born in Alaska, so we moved back for her. I moved there '87, and then moved to here, Juneau, in '91, and I left in '95. Came back to Wrangell, took care of my mom. She passed, or she had um, dementia. Took care of her till I couldn't, and then she, eventually passed. But came here because I could be close, but I can't be in that small of a place. Plus, an island, I'm like, I'll lose my shit.
Yeah.
So I'm here. I rekindled things, or not rekindled things, but I reconnected with my, like, this woman or this girl I liked in high school. I tried to, I tried all the moves, and she just was like, no, you're really nice. I didn't really, I'm like, all right. We talked stuff, hung out, and then we've been together since and got married, and
Nice.
um, that's why I have grandkids and stuff, and then, but yeah, so that's how I got here, and then I've been here since. We would live somewhere else if things were different, but just grandkids and you know
Right.
priorities, life. So,
No, I get it. And because we've got both my boys are married. I've got
oh
two
yeah,
sons, and they're in their 30s, which I still can't get over. And
right,
and they've
right.
got kids. My youngest has
Oh
kids, and my oldest is just newly married.
yeah,
And so it's interesting. It's like life after kids, and the
right.
grandkids show up, and they're exhausting. They're fun, but we get to give
Oh
them back.
oh my God, yeah. It's Man, my granddaughter just like, she just runs around, and she, since she started walking, so now she's like, she's trying to, explore everywhere, and she sees everything 'cause her eyes are fresh and new,
Oh yeah.
and she's just checking everything out, and she's low level, and it's like, you gotta watch her. I always say, like, she always likes to go to the danger zone, like, goes the absolute, most dangerous area in the room, and put stuff in her mouth because everything's got to be put in her mouth, and it's like, oh my God. So I just grab her and stop.
Yes.
And then she smiles, and you're like, no. And she's like, oh, okay, I'm going to do this some more.
Uh-huh.
Because I heard Papa's voice, and now it's time to do it more. And she smiles, and I'm like,
Oh, she knows.
yeah. So anyway, yeah.
But they're sweet. Cheer on the
Yeah.
friend.
So I have an older grandchild from my oldest. She's 9. She's super smart. Like, we were visiting her, and we had like just a night with, she can hang out with me and my wife, and she's like playing. We're like playing these games she has, and she's like, "Yeah, I want to play this because like I'm really good at them. I'm gonna I'm gonna beat you." I'm like, "Oh, nice, nice
Okay.
competitive attitude at 9." And
Yes.
so she was pretty funny, and hung out with her and my son and his daughter. But yeah, she's a character, and she's already into like metal, like, so we're gonna try to go down and see if there's any shows she wants to, like, we could take her to, and some moments, and she's
Okay.
pretty cool. A lot of records, and get her t-shirts and all that. So
Well, neat. So,
yeah.
have you listened? Well, when I think metal, I think of the '80s what we grew up with. So I think Metallica.
So that'll probably come eventually, but right now, uh, she likes Rammstein because they're different, and then because they're German and they speak German and very, and then System of a Down.
I've heard of
So
that, but I can't place it. But yes, I think my youngest son has listened to them.
yeah,
There's an
they're
Irish
from.
band
No,
too.
no, they're an Armenian band. Like they're
Oh,
from L.A. They immigrated. Their families immigrated from Armenia. So
okay.
and so but their style is like very eclectic. They came out in the late '90s. But there's, they apply like all different styles of music, and like even, Armenian folklore music, the guitars and, cymbals and stuff. And, it's pretty good. And, so I just was like, all right, cool. And she already went to see, the Gorillas.
Okay.
Like my son and wife took her to see Gorillas. So she's ready to see a show. She's
Yeah,
pretty cool. So
that's awesome.
yeah. Yeah, uh so you got into comedy. You're like, cuz another thing I noticed is your profile, so you're uh, you're a touring comedian.
Yes. Um, Although right now I've kind of been on a break, but now comedy. You asked my comedy journey, and
Yeah.
I'm just going to be very honest. So
Yeah.
my comedy, I'm a comedian who happens to be a Christian, but I don't label myself a Christian comedian only because the marketing things just feels weird to me that way. But I've got a God journey and a comedy journey that intertwine.
Okay.
So just to let you know about that. Stand up comedy was kind of a new thing. I want to say I started doing that seriously in 2009,
Hmm.
but all of it's a journey because I've been speaking to groups since 1978. I had a family member get into a recovery program, and they put me in my own recovery program for kids. And when I was about 14, 13, 14, they stuck the microphone in my hand and said, "Here, share your story."
Mm.
So I did that for several years in high school. So I was traveling, doing that,
Mhm.
talking to other teens and other kids about growing up in an addictive home. One of the great things about comedians, if you hang out with enough of us, is we all have some kind of dysfunctional background
Sure.
story. Most of us do. I won't say all of us. I've got some friends who came from fantabulous homes. Um, and we've learned that, time plus tragedy equals comedy.
Right.
But you've got to make sure to build enough time because sometimes that can have bad results on stage. Too bad.
Mm.
Um, so I was an actress through the '80s,
Oh, wow.
flaming red hair,
Mhm.
and I looked just like Molly Ringwald. Unfortunately for me, I did a very short stint in California. My dad lived there. My parents were long since divorced,
Mhm.
and casting directors all told me I looked too much like Molly Ringwald, and so
Oh,
I
jeez,
didn't
that
get the role.
sucks.
Well, it does, but
You could have
it's
played.
me.
You could have played the typecast. And be like, all right, but I could play roles that she could play that you want her to play. I'll just play them for you. Would
Yeah,
it be?
cheaper,
Oh,
and
you hook me up.
but what happened is like I wound up coming back to Detroit, and I during that time period I had studied clowning, decided
Oh.
I wanted to be a Ringling Brothers circus
Mhm.
clown, and I failed juggling. Um, well, dyslexic people shouldn't juggle. That's just
Oh, yeah. I'm
and
dyslexic too. I
I
get
should
it.
have known that. I was a majorette in school, and I was horrible. All the girls would throw their batons up into the left, all other left,
Right.
and I was always dropping my batons every time we'd come out for the games. The basketball players would all run and hide,
Mhm.
so I wasn't good at that, but I loved clowning. That was fun. And I went to business college because I needed a sensible career, according to my mother. And
Right. Well, at least she directed you in business.
Yes, and that actually was the right call. Um, but I kept acting on the side. It was fun. I modeled while I was in college. I also waited tables and cleaned the boys' dorms because they had inspection once a month, and they'd gone to college and didn't know how to do their own laundry or basically clean up after themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I put myself through school.
Hmm.
Got a job in Michigan for Sprint Communications, and they're the ones that sent me to Chicago. And I loved it because I wanted to audition for Second City.
Oh wow,
And yeah, I wanted to be the next Gilda Radner. That was my dream.
that's pretty cool.
That is cool. And I never, well, I made it to the parking lot of the audition, but I never actually
Oh
made it in
no.
the audition. I chickened out.
I wanted to go there too. Like when I lived there, I didn't think I could do comedy, but when I look back, I'm like, I should have just gone for Second City and got some kind of like either writing skill or
Oh, yeah.
learn. And because it's not about just like the performers. It's like you could be a writer, you could
They had
pursue
so many
different parts.
classes and so much.
Right.
But by then I was head over heels in love with that cute guitar player. So
Wow. Yeah.
we wound up getting married, having two kids, and moving to Oklahoma.
Mhm.
But I kept writing, and even
Mhm.
with the kids, and it was around that time that I joined a church, and I had a very kind of love hate relationship with the church up until then. I grew up pagan, excuse me,
Hmm.
but I joined a church in 1993, and because we were asked to join, I just thought you have to take your kids to church.
Mhm.
And my husband was a Christian and still is, um, so that was part of it too.
Mhm.
But so I was still writing comedy sketches. I was still speaking to recovery rooms,
Mhm.
but now for grown women, adults. I was writing comedy sketches for them. I was writing comedy sketches for church, our women's retreats, and in different church events. And so, and then it progressed to I became a Bible teacher, got certified with precepts,
Mhm.
which, I don't know how I did that. I could not have done that without some kind of faith in God. And even got a job in a church,
Hmm.
and it went south really fast, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Just due to what we it was because of what we talked about. I was born in a home for unwed mothers, and someone found out, and they didn't like that. And this isn't a popular phrase, but I'm going to share it. A lot of people call that church hurt, and
Hmm.
I'm using air quotes, but that's what they call it.
Mhm.
There is a difference between church hurt and people hurt,
Mhm.
and what it was is just I'd allowed a person to
Was
hurt.
it was it brought to you in a formal like letter like sorry like because of you
No,
what
it was
happened to
brought to
you?
me publicly in front of the entire staff, and they were
So
very angry.
they kind of shamed you?
Yes,
Oh
very
man,
angry, very upset, and
that's
then chewed out
cold.
my boss
Right.
or the manager for hiring me to answer their phones. He was offended deeply by that. And I crumbled. I mean, I felt that just that shame that we all feel
But
sometimes. But
it
it wasn't
wasn't
my
your fault though. I mean, it was
it
like
wasn't my fault.
you were a victim of circumstance. Like you,
Exactly.
like I don't know.
And but what
Like
was
what
really
kid
great,
wants that?
I
Like
know,
I chose that as a child. Like I like a split parent and.
yeah, it's just, and it took me a while to recover from that. But what kept coming back, and what I learned with my walk with God is, are you going to believe that person, or are you going to believe me?
Hmm.
And
Right.
I, um, over the years, the Bible begins, if you read the Bible, with four words: in the beginning, God. In the beginning, God. Okay, four words. And in the story of Genesis, God created, He spoke, He filled voids, He did so many things.
Hmm.
But every great story begins with those same four words. It doesn't have to be the
Hmm.
Bible, because in the beginning of all of our stories,
Hmm.
we're created by God. Um, He speaks and He sings over us,
Hmm.
fills voids in our lives. So I like that phrase, and I use that now in talking about my story.
Hmm.
When things were going south in my staff position, I threw a temper tantrum of epic proportions and quit. I waited until I had to pay my bills, my kids' tuition, but then I quit, and I quit all ministry. I stopped teaching, I stopped performing, I stopped writing sketches, and just fell into this huge pit of self pity. And I'd gone to a women's conference and met this comedian. I'm not going to name her in your podcast, but she's a Christian comedian, and that's what she goes by.
Mhm.
And she made me cry until I laughed. I mean, she made me laugh until I cried, and I was floored. And so we went to meet her after she spoke and did her bit. I'd never seen it. Well, I needed that. I needed what she saw. I'd heard and seen Christian comedians growing up, and since I didn't belong to a church, they were like the only gospel I heard as a kid. So I have a lot of respect for that industry. But we were fascinated by her, and I signed up for what I thought was her newsletter. And turned out I'd signed up to be part of her street team.
Hmm.
And that's, you know what street teams are.
All right.
We go help and promote
All right.
and do. And I had no idea I'd signed up for that.
Hmm.
And I get a phone call from the manager of that like 6 months later saying, hey, she's coming to your town. You agreed to do this.
Hmm.
Here's the 10 people I want you to call and get work under you, and we'll give you free tickets. And I argued back, and she's like, but you signed up and I really need you. And so I agreed.
Hmm.
I went back and I kind of talked to God about it. I'm like, but I quit. He's like, just do this.
Hmm.
It's like, okay. And it's not like God like talks out loud, and I'm not trying to be woohoo,
Hmm.
but that's just what I felt. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
I did commit to this. I'll do it. And she was at the Brady Theater in Tulsa.
Hmm.
They call it the Tulsa Theater now because politics.
Hmm.
And well, that's going to offend people. I shouldn't have said that. But they do. They have renamed it. And
Hmm.
I remember being there with her, shaking in my boots because she's kind of a big deal. And I knew that I'd figured that out based on different people I'd spoken to. And she's amazingly funny and super sweet, and thankful that I was there with other women. But I'm standing on stage in this empty theater. And so and at that point I prayed because I really missed being on stage. I loved I was a live actress. I loved teaching. I loved speaking, and I missed it. And so what I told God was, if you want me back on stage, make it real. And that night, and she had no idea I'd said that, and I had no idea she was planning this. She put high top tables and chairs on stage and invited her street team up on stage with her
Hmm.
for the first half of the show. And I almost cried, but I couldn't because here she is doing her show. And I kind of took that as like permission
Hmm.
and okay. So I wound up working with her, volunteering for her for about 8 years. I
Hmm.
worked with her promoters, I worked with her ticket agents. I learned how to promote events and promote shows. And I learned so much about the craft just watching her. And she was very generous. But I went back to speaking, I went back to teaching. I took another job in a church, which I thought I'd never do. And it turned out to be the most spectacular job. Um, they were a wealthy church, and they left the wealthy community and moved right into the heart in the middle of West Tulsa, right across the street from Section 8 housing.
Hmm.
It was a bad neighborhood, but they built a community garden. They had 24 acres and a prayer walk path thing that the pastor had built with crosses and different prayer stations. They did a women's Bible study on Wednesday night for the women across the street. They had something called Kids Church, Kids Crew, I think they called it. And they taught the children life skills because most of the people across the street were divorced, single moms, living on food stamps, living on, barely getting by. And some of them were addicts, and we've got some great testimonies that came out of that. Recovered now and
Yeah.
doing great.
Programs. So,
Um, well, they didn't have 12-step programs or like Celebrate Recovery, um, but they had Bible studies, and then the people they would refer people to those programs. We just didn't have any on campus. And they did Christmas in the park where we would, donate all of these Christmas gifts to the church, and then they would allow people across the street to come shop. Now they had to buy the gifts, but like if something cost $10 at the store, they only had to pay $1, and it was to keep their self-respect. And I loved it. And so I'm working there, and I started doing comedy myself. I started bringing in comedy events and shows with friends that I'd met in churches. I started out in the church doing that, and they became outreach events, and they were great because especially if you're someone like me from 25 years ago, I wouldn't set foot in a church for a worship service, but if you've got a great comedy show, I'll come.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked for me when I was younger. So we did that, and that was very successful. I've done that for several churches throughout Oklahoma. Um, and I did that for about 10 years. Also, in that, and I still do that, just not as frequently as I used to. I joined a club, comedy club. I had a brand new one in Tulsa. I was with them from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking, this is like 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we all kind of grew up together, learned together. We were all new-ish. I joined the Christian Comedy Association, which is an awesome organization. They have a retreat once a year, and this year I think it's in Indiana. And that's where the Christian comedians from all over the country come together. And we kind of lift up and encourage each other, learn from each other. It's a great fellowship organization. And I know the better I got working with friends, because we're not meant to be alone. And the comedy journey and a faith walk are very similar, because we're going to go through periods where, like, forget it, I'm done,
Yeah.
and everything, and
Right.
because it gets hard, and life gets hard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've gone through that a lot in the last 25 years, 20 plus years. And even before then, like I said, I had a microphone shoved in my hand in 78.
Mm-hmm.
So I've gone through seasons of I need to rest, or I'm done for a while.
Sure.
And I learned, well, when my mom died, gosh, we're at 21 years now. Um, well, 2015. Anyway, so 15 years, I guess. I'm horrible at
Me
math.
too.
But 15, I didn't take it well.
Mm-hmm.
And within the first year she died, I had to pull myself off stage eventually. But the first year she died, so George Carlin has the 7 things you can't say on radio.
Sure.
Yeah, my mom had basically her dirty seven of over my dead bodies. That's a mother's favorite phrase.
Right.
Mom, I want to get my ears pierced over my dead body. That was her
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
And within 6 months of her death, I had dreadlocks. They were
Mm-hmm.
beautiful. I turned 50, and so that was my justification.
Mm-hmm.
I got 2 tattoos,
Mm-hmm.
and I met Alice Cooper,
Hmm.
and paid to meet him. It was, he was in Tulsa for a concert, and we bought the meet and greet package.
Yeah. Okay. I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yep. Well,
Hey,
those
I
were,
mean, still.
yeah, but still. And as a birthday gift for my husband, that was my cover.
Mm-hmm.
And, sorry.
No, it's cool.
Yeah. But it occurred to me, those were Mom's top 3 of the 7. And, I can't remember all of them.
You
But
broke all this. You broke all the
I'm breaking all the deadly,
personal rules.
all
Yeah.
the personal rules. And she hadn't been gone 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I would, talk about that, and I'd brag about that on stage. Look at me. I've got my dreads. I've got my Alice Cooper shirt. I've got my,
Mm-hmm.
tattoos. And, take that.
Yeah.
And I got really dark. And I was doing a show in California with friends. It was a showcase. And I'm on stage doing that bit. And it clicked with me. Wow. If I show up at my mother's gravesite like this, I would literally be standing over her dead body. And like, that's not funny. And I'd said that out loud, to the audience. And I saw a lot of nods, including the producer that brought me into that show, Leslie. And I'm like, I need therapy. I mean, so, and which is what I did. I pulled myself off stage after that, and got the help I needed, and got back into comedy
Do
after that.
you do you think you uh you know dreaded your hair and get got tattooed? Did you do that out of like a rebellion? Like you finally like I finally can do this. It doesn't sound like you're being you're trying to give your mom the finger and be like, yeah, I'm gonna do what I
Yeah, I
want.
wasn't doing it to to get at her necessarily,
Right.
but
So
I turned 50, my kids had launched, and I was trying to redefine myself or define
right,
myself. And
right,
life for kids, when your kids grow up and they leave, and
right.
all you know is motherhood. So I wasn't flipping my mom off necessarily, but the fact that I was bragging about it in such a way and talking about
Uh,
her death, that was where I was. My audience is not my therapist, and that's not a comedy show is not a therapy session. And so, it's not fair to trauma dump on an audience. I see a lot of comedians who do that.
mm.
Um,
I was
so
gonna
I,
say that's a lot of comedians they do that.
yes, they do. And but it's low hanging fruit. They get the shock, they get the laugh,
Mm,
and I didn't want to be that. I play clean. That is something I do.
mm,
That opens far more doors than playing dirty.
mm,
Not that there's anything wrong with swearing when it's appropriate, and in
mm,
some places, I totally get that. But if I want to play corporates, I want to play women's events, I want to
mm.
get hired. I stay clean, and I also try to stay true to. I couldn't do any of this without God, and so I do want to stay true to that. So I've loved the journey. I've loved getting to produce shows. I've been to, California, New York, Chicago, Florida. I play Oklahoma, Arkansas. We call them Mocha states:
Mm.
Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Kansas, and Arkansas.
Like
Um,
like the kind of southern Midwest,
right, Southern Midwest. I do a lot
I
of that,
guess.
and I've played in Indiana. Some of my favorite events, I'll be honest, are for the vets.
Yeah,
The VFW Hall will do a showcase,
nice,
and I get to perform for the vets at home. And we do that as a Tulsa community. We've done that quite a bit, and
nice,
it helps raise money for them.
cool,
Um, I got invited and didn't realize, and it turned out to be a fantastic show. We performed for a homeless camp
nice.
that had been adopted by this church. And once I realized that was a blast, absolute
Mm,
blast, to do that. And, in my journey too, that job that went south, one of the things that I loved is I ran their food pantry
mm,
and I got to have fun with the families I served. And we had one particular, with church food pantries, you meet all kinds of people, and a lot of
mm.
them really just hard on their luck and their
Sure.
families. I think the most heartbreaking part was the kids who would age out of foster care,
Oh,
the 18-year-olds, the 20-year-olds.
that's
There
rough.
that was rough, and that used to break my heart. And we
Damn.
had gang members who would come in, and I'd have to learn compassion and sometimes tolerance.
Mm.
But we had
Good.
one member who had just gotten released from jail,
Yeah.
and there was nothing scary about it. He was a nice kid. He was a kid,
Mm,
and so for about 6 months, we had this relationship. He'd come in once a month, really nice. And then the church had to shut down their pantry due to other activity
mm,
and stuff going on with other people who were not the best to come in.
mm.
It got dangerous.
Yeah.
And I was serving dinner we have a homeless shelter here called John 316. And my friends and I would serve once a month. And one month we were there, and it was a dangerous night. It was a really dangerous night.
Mm,
And so we were not allowed, we used to be allowed to go eat with people or go sit with people,
mm,
and we weren't allowed to. We had to stay behind the screen and stay behind
mm,
and serve everybody. And it was my job to help collect trash or the plates, the trays. And I was standing at the end. But I recognized this young man come through, and he was the same man I knew from the food pantry. And I was just, shocked that he was living in a homeless shelter. But we recognized each other. He nodded, and that was it, because we're not allowed to talk. It was a bad night. Um, but at some point, when I'm collecting trash, the people there were getting really rude and
Mm.
splashing me with the food and doing stuff. And this young man saw it, and he came up to the trash bin and stood in front of me and stared down the crowd. He says, "You will behave. You will be nice to her." And so he commanded respect, whatever was going on. And he protected me for the rest of that shift. And that just absolutely blew my mind and was just incredibly sweet and humbling. Um, I hope he's doing okay today. I never saw him again after that. They do graduate at some point, but I've never forgotten that. But that's one of the things, too, that comedy allows us to do. It's not just about, I mean, I'm not famous. I'm not on Netflix, and I haven't been on well, all the different channels that produce comedy shows, but I love what I get to do because we get to serve like the homeless shelters. We get to serve. I've got friends who serve prisons. I have not done that yet. That is a really rough crowd. I don't know that I could do that honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but and we've got homeless shelters. We've got the homes for unwed mothers out here, and I've helped raise funds through comedy with my friends for like counseling centers, homeless, like I said, homeless shelters, women's shelters, all of that, and I enjoy that better than a big stage. And I still teach. I go back. I'm a Bible teacher still, and I love getting to encourage women's groups. My audience is predominantly women. If men are brave enough to show up, that's great. But what I've always loved is the comedy community for the most part that I've run into. We're not competitive. We're friends. You're going to run into egos like anywhere else. I mean, I
Right.
ran into them in corporate, um, and you run into them in church, and you run into them anywhere because we're just human. But we've got a great community, especially here in Tulsa with the comedians. Nashville was the same way. When I first got very serious about comedy, I went to Nashville. It was only it's like a 10 to 11 hour drive from my house, and I was constantly it's a 1 day drive.
Yeah.
When I was young, I was in my 40s then, so I was young,
Mhm.
and I would go for the weekend or whatever. And scared my husband, scared the fire out of him because the kids had launched and his wife's in Nashville. He's like, "What's going on?" Um, but that's where I learned and cut my chops. And I definitely learned here. Having a home club was very vital to my journey and my career. The club closed, which I felt bad about, but and we all did because we were such a tight knit group, and I miss them. But there's two clubs in Oklahoma in Tulsa, which is nice to see. We've got the Looney Bin and we've got Brookside, and they're both
I
excellent clubs.
I think I've heard Looney Bin.
Yeah, there's three that I know of, and it's a wonderful club. I've played there. Um, Club rules are a little different as far as if you sign with the club, they do kind of have a restriction as to how close you can come within 6 months to that club. So they kind of like own you for 6 months in that district,
Hmm.
which is why comedians travel so much. And because we need to, we can't just play. If you're going to play
Right.
a club, you
Right.
can't play all the clubs in that city at the same time.
Yeah.
They get picky about that. But they're
Hmm.
fun venues. I enjoyed it. People talk about, well, you're a Christian comedian. You're a Christian. How can you play clubs?
Hmm.
Like, well, I play the clean shows, and you'd be surprised how many Christians play clubs. Um, oh, Jeff Allen, one of my favorite human beings on the planet,
Hmm.
still plays clubs in churches,
Hmm.
and does a fantastic job of it. Made an excellent career of it. And there's several others. Taylor Mason, another one of my favorites,
Hmm.
and a friend of mine, Carrie Pomerelli. Um, but then they also play churches and they do churches and they do those events. I'm 90% churches now, almost closer to 100%. I don't play clubs like I used to.
Hmm.
And I play for the nonprofits.
Hmm.
I love that. And so that's kind of how I use my gift. And that's really a huge part of my journey. I have friends who are freaked out that I do this because I can be so shy and so quiet. I'm
Mm-hmm.
very much of an introvert,
Hmm.
but I love bringing laughter to people, especially when people are going through a hard time
Yeah.
and they need a reminder. And I don't, sit and preach on stage or stand and preach on stage when I'm telling jokes. I do talk about God. I don't necessarily tell Bible jokes. People hear Christian comedian or a comedian who's Christian think I'm just going to tell church jokes and Bible jokes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not it. I joke about real life, marriage, life after kids.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I still tell some jokes about my mom, but they're a lot nicer than they were, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, but the journey's different for everybody. So definitely open mics are great. Did a ton of those. Still do once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
They help refine everything. I'm more of a storyteller than a one, two, three median,
Yeah.
and that works. But I might need two glasses of water. Um, anyway, do you have any questions or
No, I mean,
you?
you pretty much, this is kind of what it's about, just your journey and whatever you're willing to
Yeah,
divulge. But
it's been
that's
fun.
wild.
Oh,
That's
thank you.
wild. Um, I respect that you do shelters and you try to, in a way, you're helping people, and so that's
Yeah.
nice. Like,
Oh, thank you.
um, seems like I think a problem with some in comedy right now. I think it's a lot of people want to be Lenny Bruce and Richard Pryor,
Right.
and they make a lot of money, and they get like several Netflix shows. But it's like, what are you even? What's the substance? And it seems like that's just what it is. And like comedians for me, it's like music where it's like, what are you even talking about? Do you need some water? Do you want to get some water?
Can I get some water, please?
Yeah, please.
Pause
Go.
1 sec.
I'm surprised you haven't been like somebody in your.
All right, 1 sec.
Okay,
I'm gonna flip this.
sure.
Oops.
I'll get some too. I think I heard a stinker.
Right. There we go.
Right.
Sorry.
Um, yeah, you covered a lot. I can't believe that's cool. Um, yeah. Do you have any pups?
Oh, yeah, yes, I've got an Aussie who is, they're all tuxedos. So my
Yeah.
Aussie is 9.
Uh huh.
And then I've got a mixed breed. She's kind of on the small side, and
Uh
she
huh.
is 14. So how about you?
We can't. We want some pups, but we live in an apartment, so we can't. But if we did, probably Maltese or like just like a little tiny pup. So
Oh,
my wife wants something like a little so she can carry it around like she's fancy, and then I'd probably get like a English bulldog or like a
those are
lab or
nice.
something. Yeah. So
Sorry, my allergies are kicking in.
no worries. Is it about that time of the year?
Well, we're kind of housebound right now because it's been winter here, which is
Oh
surprising.
yeah, I
So it's been
heard.
really cold, but it warmed up today. But it will get to be that time of year, yes.
Nice. Well, cool. I think I think we're good.
Okay.
You're very I don't know. You got a lot. You got a lot. I'm gonna be excited to hear it, back.
Well, thank you.
But I appreciate you doing this and taking time out. And I hope you have a nice day. And thanks you for coming on to conversations.
Yes, and thank you for asking me. Yeah, I hope you
All
have a good
right.
day.
You too. Take care.
All right, take care.